Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knowledge 9, Lesson 3. This is Rapunzel, or since it was collected by two Germans, Rapunzel. Rapunzel is a fairy tale, and I want you to pay attention when you hear the word delight, because that's the key word from this story, delight. And after the story, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about how this story is a little bit like the last story we read, which is Rumpelstiltskin. Anyway, let's get started. There once lived a man and his wife who, more than anything in the world, wished to have a baby. Finally, one day, they learned that their wish would come true. Now, at the top of their house, in the very back, there was a little window. And from this window, you could see a garden full of beautiful flowers and fresh vegetables. But around the garden was a high wall, and no one dared to enter the garden because it belonged to a mean witch. One day, the wife stood at the little window and looked down into the witch's garden. There she saw fine-looking leaves of Rapunzel, which is a kind of lettuce called lamb's quarters. And it looked so fresh and green that she felt she must simply have some. Day after day, she longed for it. Now, what's the root of that word? Long, right? To long for something means to want it very badly. So she wants. You see the Rapunzel growing in the garden, and she longs to eat some of it. The more she wanted it, the more she became pale and sad when she could not have some. Her husband saw her looking so sad and became worried. "Dear wife, what is the matter?" he asked. "Oh," she answered, "I feel that I must eat some of that Rapunzel from the garden behind our house." Her husband loved her very much, and he thought, "I must get what my wife desires. I will get some of that Rapunzel, no matter what." What do you think he's going to do? That night, he climbed over the wall into the witch's garden. He quickly filled a sack with Rapunzel and brought it back to his wife. At once, she ate it with delight. Now, delight means joy or great pleasure. But she liked it so much, and it tasted so good, that the next day she longed for it twice as much as she had before. So that night, the husband climbed the wall again and picked more Rapunzel. He turned around to go back when he saw before him the angry eyes of the witch.
"How dare you climb into my garden, you thief?" she hissed. "How dare you steal my Rapunzel? You will pay dearly for this."
"Oh, please," said the terrified man, "be merciful. I only did this because I had to. My wife, you see, is having a baby, and she was looking out the window and saw your Rapunzel, and she needed some more than anything else in the world."
"Well then," said the witch, "you may have as much Rapunzel as you want, on one condition. When your wife has the child, you must give it to me. I will take care of the child as if it is my very own."
The man was so flustered that he said, "Yes," and then tried not to think any more of it. But later, at the very moment when his wife gave birth to a lovely baby girl, the witch appeared and reminded him of his promise. She brought the child to live with her. The witch named the baby Rapunzel. Why do you think she named the girl Rapunzel? And she grew to be a beautiful girl. When Rapunzel was 12 years old, the witch took her deep into the forest. There she locked her in a tower with no steps and no door, only a small window near the top. Why do you think the witch locked Rapunzel in a tower? Whenever the witch wanted to be let into the tower, she would cry from the ground below,
Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair!
Rapunzel had beautiful long hair that shone like gold. When she heard the voice of the witch, she would open the window and let her hair fall down, down, down to the ground far below. Then the witch would hold on to the hair and climb up to the tower window. A few years passed like this when one day the king's son was riding through the forest, and he came upon the tower. Now, a king's son is a prince. As he came near, he heard a voice singing so sweetly that he stood still and listened. It was Rapunzel in her loneliness, trying to pass away the time with sweet songs. The prince wanted to go inside to see her, so he looked for a door to the tower, but there was none. He rode home, but the song had entered into his heart, and every day he went into the forest and listened to it. Once, as he was standing nearby behind some trees, who should come up to the tower but the witch? The prince watched, amazed, as the witch called out,
Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair!
Then he saw how Rapunzel let down her long hair and how the witch climbed up it and went into the tower. He thought, so that is the ladder. Well then, I too will climb it. And the next day, as dusk fell, dusk is the time of day when it's starting to get dark, but it's not quite dark yet. He came to the tower and cried, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. And she let down her hair, and the prince climbed up. Rapunzel was greatly frightened when she saw the prince, for she had never seen a man before. But he spoke kindly to her and told her how her singing had entered his heart and how he felt he could have no peace until he had seen her. Then Rapunzel forgot her fear, and when he asked her to be his wife, she put her hand in his and said, I would gladly go with you, but I have no way to get out. Do this for me. The next time you come, bring a bundle of silk. Then bring some more each time you come, and I will make a ladder of it. When it is finished, I will use it to climb down from this tower, and then you will carry me away from here on your horse. They agreed that he would come to her every evening, since the witch only came in the daytime. So, things went on this way until one day Rapunzel, without thinking, said to the witch, Why do you climb up so slowly while it takes the king's son only a moment?
Oh, you wicked child! Screamed the witch. I thought I had you hidden here from all the world, but you have betrayed me!
In a rage, the witch grabbed a pair of sharp scissors and cut off poor Rapunzel's hair. Then the witch took Rapunzel from the tower and brought her to live even deeper in the forest. Later that day, when evening fell, the prince came out and called,
Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair!
What's going to happen? Is Rapunzel up there? Well, the witch lowered the cut-off hair and the prince climbed up. But instead of seeing his dear Rapunzel at the top, he saw the gleaming eyes of the witch.
Aha!
she cried and laughed at him.
You came for your darling, but the sweet bird is no longer in its nest and sings no more. You will see her no more.
And filled with horror and sadness, the prince fell from the tower. The fall did not hurt him badly, but the thorns on which he fell hurt his eyes and blinded him. So, blind and alone, he wandered in the forest for several years, eating only roots and berries, and weeping over the loss of his dear Rapunzel. At last he came to a place in the forest where Rapunzel herself was wandering. He heard a sweet voice that he thought he had heard somewhere before. When he went toward the sound, Rapunzel saw him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and wept. When Rapunzel's tears touched the prince's eyes, he could see again. He was both happy and amazed because he thought he'd never see her again. And so the prince took Rapunzel to his kingdom to be his bride, where she was welcomed with great joy. They were soon married, and they lived happily ever after. Well, what did you think of that story? That was another one where you could be on either side, because the guy did go into the garden, didn't he? And he wasn't supposed to, was he? And everybody knew that there was a wall around the witch's garden. Maybe she wasn't such an evil witch, because wasn't Rapunzel singing beautifully? Someone had to teach her. Someone had to teach her those lovely songs. I think the witch was not all that bad a person in this one. Anyway, in the read aloud you heard, he quickly picked a handful of Rapunzel and brought it back to his wife, and she ate it with delight. Say that word, delight. Delight means joy or great pleasure. Like, I look forward to being back in school with delight. I look forward to the warm weather of summer with delight each year. And what's that word we're talking about? Delight, right. And it's in the word delightful. You'll hear that from time to time. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the story. And don't let your hair grow too long, certainly not as long as Rapunzel's. I know I need a haircut, but not nearly as long as Rapunzel's. Bye-bye.